Our guest is Devin Smeltzer. As we get started about a minute early, he was a former pitcher with the Blue Wahoos, very short-timed with the Blue Wahoos, and that's only because you played so well in about the 5.5 weeks that you were with us. You're kind enough to carve out a little bit of time with us to just talk about baseball and life and everything in between, and what's been a really crazy year to start off this decade, to say the least. And right out of the gate, Devin, thanks for just making some time to talk with us and the people joining us. We really do appreciate that.
Yeah, without a doubt.
How are you trying to stay in baseball shape when you had spring training at a normal time and then that gets canceled? And then we think we're all right, mid-May, we'll start going. Then it's like, okay, maybe, first week of June. We'll get ready first week of June. And here we are, June 3rd. There's still no agreement. And we don't know if it's going to be 100 games, 60 games, 50 games, what rosters are going to look like. How are you just dealing with that and staying ready for whenever a date is announced?
I'm really, plain and simple, I'm really lucky to be in Florida. Things really haven't been too much different here. I mean, our restaurants were shut down for a while and all that, but, I was lucky enough to have my trainer down here. His gym was closed, but allowed me to keep coming in and getting my work in. He's got a turf mound out back. My good buddy, he's a junior in high school down here. His season got canceled. He wanted to work, get better. I throw a sim game once a week and a bullpen with him, and so it's cool. We're able to bounce stuff off each other. I'm helping him learn. He's helping me stay ready. So really not much has changed for me. I told myself from day one, I want to keep a workload on, having the ability to, because I was worried that if, I didn't get my, 20 starts or whatever this year, it's not really this year I'm worried about. It's next year and the year after that, that your body's going to take the hit. So I've been throwing, 4 to 6 simulated innings a week, which it sounds like a lot, but when there's no stress pitches, it's not that hard on your body. But I'm keeping the up downs going and trying to keep it as realistic as possible. And it keeps me in a competitive mode to, keep my mind right.
And how do you evaluate those sessions? Because, part of it is the actual repetitions, the stretching, the simulated innings. When you're in spring training, minor leagues or major leagues, you're getting constant feedback from coaches about what's working and what's not in order to improve. And without those games and batters in the box, I'm just curious, how you try and just move forward each step. So when the season does start, you're really in good contention for being an active player on that roster.
With a lot of the technology today, and again, the 2 orgs that I've been with, they teach you so much how to be, your best. They give you the resources to know what you need to do to get done. So I know where my numbers need to be with spin rates and all that kind of stuff, and, chasing higher numbers and all those aspects. And so using some of the technology like Rapsodo and TrackMan when I have it for my bullpens, just to, kind of track some of that stuff. But I'm a big feel guy. A lot of the stuff, I have to just listen to my hands and, understand where I'm feeling things, trying to better my pitches here and there. And, but yeah, I mean, things, believe me, it's definitely tough. I hit a skid early May where it was like the dog days. It was really tough. I missed competing. And I hit a skid with velo where I just couldn't get amped to do anything. But I'm back on track now. There's a travel ball team down here that's been getting their work in, getting ready. I pitch against them once a week, and then I have my bullpen. So I'm back in a competitive atmosphere and, doing what I can to stay ready.
Please tell me that travel ball team is at least high school or above, all right? Because if this is competitive middle school, that's not conducive.
They're high school, college-bound guys that are, again, it's really cool because, I leave and they're all thanking me, and it's look, you guys have no idea what you're doing for me. I've been finding my competitive itch in like pickleball with my wife. Like I need this competing, and like I don't care what level you are. Like if you come up there and have confidence and like you're taking hacks at me, like it's gonna fire me up to keep going. So it's been a lot of fun. They're helping me out way more than I could possibly be helping them, and it's cool to watch them grow and get better every week.
You talk about being a competitor, and I know that so many players in particular, but fans of the sport as well, are optimistic that an agreement will be reached and there will be some sort of schedule that is put together. But would it bother you at all seeing any champion, a world champion of a 60-game schedule? Would you look at it a little bit differently than you would obviously a normal season? Because I know this is a very abnormal year, and we have to take a lot of things into account, the coronavirus being a major one, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But just, do you think other players also would look at a 60-game schedule and the champion that emerged from that and be like, really?
Like I always think there's going to be an asterisk next to it. Yeah. But in my eyes, I think it's going to be kind of a cool spin on the sport. It's always been a marathon. You can hit a 25-game skid in a 160-game season and be the World Series champions. You look at the odds of the Nationals winning the World Series last year. Yeah. I think it was what was it? Like maybe 8 days ago, MLB had posted a tweet like, on this day in Vegas, like MLB was, whatever percentage to win. Yeah. And it's like, that's not going to happen in a short season. Right. You have to come out hot, you have to stay hot, and you have to finish hot. Like there is going to be no, you have a 5-game skid, you're really going to hurt your chances. So I think it's going to be a really cool spin. I think it's going to be heated. Every game is going to matter. And I know every game matters, but like I said, in 162 games, like you can afford sometimes to reserve an arm here, give a guy a day off here. In a 60-game season, we are going to be all hands on deck, all 60 games. Like you're trying to win every single game to get there.
And it's so interesting because it feels like every game, playoff game, a must-win game, and there's this intensity that you're talking about. But the reality is that when we go back to playing games, there will be no fans in the stands. It'll be like we're back in Pearl, Mississippi in the middle of June. So how does that, the fact that there's nobody there sort of counteract what you're talking about? And, when was the last time you were playing, 15, 20, 25 games where you just knew, like, there's not really going to be anybody here. Like, we're playing with crickets.
I think we're going to have to find it within ourselves of what's going on. I think if this season started, after a month of being shut down and they said no fans, I think it would be very, very difficult to get hyped up for it. But we've been, deprived of this game for so long that, we don't really care how many people are in the stands at this point. Like, I would love to go play a Sandlot game right now, with nobody around, stick ball, tennis ball, whatever, just to compete. So, again, I know it's hard for me to say as a rookie because, every day in these stadiums is an absolute dream, whether there's fans or not. But I think a lot of us are kids at heart, and you put us back into a competitive atmosphere, you're going to see a lot of really good baseball. Fans or not fans, we've been deprived so long that we just want to compete.
I do want to spend most of the time talking about baseball. Your story's a cool one, and the fact that you were a big leaguer last year and you did a lot of great things. I do just want to go back a little bit. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, most of this year has been rocked by COVID-19, the fact that it's spread everywhere, it's shut everything down. One thing that health experts talked about is that the people who were at risk are people with sort of compromised immune systems. And we got to know your story a little bit last year, that you had a very rare form of cancer when you were a young kid. I know you were declared cancer-free. For people who would just be unfamiliar, can you give like a 1-minute synopsis of that story? And then can you just talk about what it was like for you as someone who has been very sick to be around and, surrounded by this virus that is seemingly affecting people who have been very sick before?
Yeah, so my story a little bit. I was diagnosed right before my 10th birthday with bladder and prostate cancer. Went through chemo and radiation, chemo for a full year. In the middle, it was chemo and radiation for, I think it was like 9 weeks. So it was, very tough, but it made me who I am today. And, I think a lot of my grit comes from that time. And I don't think I would be the man I am today without it. And then to touch on, today's situation, I take care of myself, really well. There is so much unknown. That's kind of the issue. The survival rate's like 99.9%, but, we don't know what it's going to do 10 years from now. But, the cancer treatments I had, we didn't know what it was going to do 10 years out. And I've gone through side effects of that and stuff. So I've learned not to get too wrapped up in the unknowns because it'll just drive you crazy. I'm smart, but, I think our bodies are one of the strongest things out there. Like, our bodies are incredible with building antibodies and stuff. And from my experience, I think if I were to shelter myself, it's only going to make me weaker. So, building up immunity and stuff like that, and eating healthily, steady working out. Now, I'm not saying I'm going and licking public toilet seats and stuff, but I'm being smart. But
Appreciate that, by the way.
yeah, I'm not too worried about these things. So again, if you are a high risk, you are the people that need to absolutely lock down. But yeah, for the most part, I'm not really a public place person anyway. If it was up to me, I'd be in the woods or out on the boat anyway. So my life's not altered too much. I can take my boat out. There's no better social distancing than if you're that close to my boat where I can get COVID from you, we're going to be having a different type of issue. Yeah. So it's not that big of a deal for me.
Yeah, well, and your body tough inside and out, since we saw you take a rocket off the dome in Biloxi, and then you were arguing with your trainer that you wanted to go back out and pitch when I thought you were dead on the spot. So, I mean, I'm glad you were okay then. I'm glad you're okay now. And again, for you, a fantastic year in 2019. I don't know if you want to give credit to the work that was done in spring training or the hot start that you got off to in Pensacola, because we're certainly dominant at the AA level, but it got you all the way to the big leagues, and you had a pretty memorable major league debut. What was that like for you, just getting that call? Talk about the travel, getting to where you ended up, and what it was like in the moments before you jogged out on the mound and you were ready to throw your first big league pitch.
Yeah. Starting from day one, it was my first time repeating a level, which was frustrating. I came off a decent year the year before, but I had a great spring training, like you said, and it was frustrating at first. And then I had to talk with my agent, and he's like, dude, is it really the worst thing in the world? You're staying in Florida. You're going to an awesome place with an awesome stadium, good fans, good baseball. You get to fish every day. And it's snowing in Rochester every other day. Is it really that big of a deal? And from that point on, it was just kind of let's enjoy this and get better. And really, really enjoyed my time in Pensacola. And then, got that call up to AAA and went up and did well there. And whole new group of guys. I was new to the organization, so every level I hit, it was a whole new group of guys. So it was really cool to kind of learn everybody. And I got the call in Rochester. Manager came in and got me and sat me down, and I was like, oh man,
this can't be good.
Yeah, what umpire did I yell at or whatever? Am I in trouble? And he's like, I want to let you know and congratulate you. Like, you're going to the big leagues. And I blacked out after that. I don't really remember anything else he said, but when I came back to, he's like, your flight's in 2 hours. And I was like, oh, okay. And this was like a half hour before Rochester's game time. So traffic's crazy. Fans are shuffling in. Like, there's no Uber in the place. I didn't have my car. So I had to pack up my stuff. I probably had 50 pounds worth of stuff in my Twins bag that I had to walk, I don't know, a half mile or so back to the hotel. I get to the hotel. I'm absolutely soaked. So I take like a 3-second shower, pack up all my stuff there. I ended up leaving like a pair of glasses, my flip-flop, like a whole bunch of stuff got left. Then I get in the Uber and I'm like, look, buddy, like, as safely as you can, like, get me there as fast as you can. And
I'm a big leaguer, all right? I know it doesn't look like it, but you got to get me to the airport.
I'm sweating. I'm crying on the phone, calling my parents and calling my wife and, everything. It was nuts. And then got to the airport, got on the plane, get there. First experience of a big league hotel. Like, I'd never even been to a big league spring training or anything like that. So the whole experience was new. And I get there and I'm so ready to go to the field. And it's like, hey, look, nothing can be said. Like, we're not making the announcement till after the game. So I'm in the, like, I think I was in the 19th floor of the Lowe's, like, trying to watch the game from my hotel room window.
Right. Taking like 30 tweets down. Like,
yeah,
right.
I can't even post anything. And then it was announced and my phone started blowing up. And the next day came around. My whole family made it. My aunt, uncle, cousins, my mom, and my mom drove out from New Jersey. So as soon as they got the phone call from me, they got in the car and drove however many hours from New Jersey to Minneapolis. My dad and grandma flew out. My agent flew in. My in-laws and all of them flew in, and it was absolutely insane. Some my best friends, like just about all my groomsmen are there. My brother, and it's funny. Every time I get asked this question, like what it felt like. And you guys saw me pitch in Pensacola. Like, I'm a very high energy. Like, I'm very fired up. I feed off the fans. I was more calm in that game than any other game I've ever pitched in. And I say to this day that I've pitched that game 1,000,000 times in my head. From the backyard at 9, like playing imaginary wiffle ball to, just thoughts about that day. And I was able to just go in and do my homework on the lineup, and Castro had done his homework, and I felt very comfortable with him. And, what finger he put down, I trusted. All I had to do was execute. And it was truly a dream come true, and it couldn't have gone any better.
It's awesome, man. It's awesome to hear that because, you see a lot of people go through the minor leagues and everyone has the same dream, but then at the same time, you hear about the numbers game and how difficult it is, right? However many percent, 3%, 4% ever actually make it for a single game. And you look at your upbringing and just even your game itself, right? I mean, the idea of a crafty left-hander, if you were in the mid-90s, right, you would be like on a Wheaties box, all right? Like,
I've been told that so many times that we're sorry. You just grew up in the wrong time. Like, if you're throwing 90 miles an hour from the left side in 1990, like, you're looking at a first-round pick, and it's like I get to high school, and it's like everybody's throwing 96 now. Good luck.
Look at Gumby over here, all right? Like, let's go and tee it up. And you still, again, to say that you dominated at this level is an understatement. Like, we're talking sub-2 ERA. You had a double-digit strikeout game, and you only had like 5 starts with us, all right? So, you were just – if you had a point to prove, it certainly looked like that for having to repeat there. And, what I thought was cool and what was really class about the Twins organization is on the day that they knew when you were pitching, it was literally a pizza party in the clubhouse with all the other guys. Like, dude, Dev's pitching. Like, we got to watch how he's doing. And just fired up everyone was to see that success and to see you execute at that level where, listen, there have been some guys that get called up and the moment's maybe a little too big for them, or it's understandable to be nervous in that situation. And to see you just be as gritty as sandpaper, I think is a big reason why you became an early fan favorite. And I got to think that you're just, like you said before, you're chomping at the bit to get back. Because I know towards the end of the year, you went back down to AAA, and that's got to be a little bit of a disappointment. But knowing you and sort of your personality, you don't feel sorry for yourself. You just take that as a challenge, like, all right, I got to work harder, and then I'm going up, and I'm never going back down.
Yeah, I mean, baseball is so tough nowadays with how everything works with service time and all that stuff, and I understand that it's a business. A lot of the times that I was sent down last year, it's none of the times were performance involved. So it's, believe me, I mean, it's very frustrating because you get a taste of that. You don't ever want to go back. You want that highest level. You want that fraternity. And, to touch on what you said with the pizza party and the guys watching, like, that's what I'm saying when the Twins are breeding this just fraternity that, yeah, we may be competing for that same spot, but, we had a couple other guys debut and, like, same thing. We're all eating pizza in the clubhouse, watching them in Rochester. And, I mean, that's what you want. You want to see the guy next to you and the guy in front of you and the guy behind you. You want to see them succeed. And that's truly how everybody was. We all believed in each other. And, I mean, what was it? Half of that Pensacola team last year ended up debuting. And it just really goes to show that the Twins aren't only going after talent. They're going after, the men that we are, our morals, all that, and the brotherhood. And it's such a fun organization to come up in right now.
We have about 10 minutes left. I'm just going to say this now, and I'm going to say it a couple other times. But again, class move on your part to make some time for us. We really appreciate you doing this. You were a fan favorite here. One of the things that Quentin, Rishi, and Bubba are always looking for from the players and the coaches that come through here is making time for fans and making time for kids and signing autographs. And I know sometimes that people can ask for a lot of different things to be signed and a lot of binders outside of clubhouses and random cities, but you were always gracious. You always made the time for photos. And again, I just want to say thank you for doing that. It's a year overdue, but it's the kind of thing that makes people want to come back here, and it makes people fall in love with the game of baseball. So thank you for doing this and that and everything in between.
We don't have jobs without the fans, and I know there's a small handful of guys out there in the baseball world that don't like it and all, but we aren't anything without the fans. And I love it. I was that kid looking up. I mean, I know the video with Utley went around, and I was that kid who looked up to the big leaguer, the AA, or it didn't matter. I looked up to guys who worked hard, and they talk a lot about the integrity of the game and leaving it better than when you found it. And if it's inspiring one kid to work a little harder, maybe he gets that D1 scholarship, or maybe he goes to a JUCO or a Division II, or ends up being a pro. Like, if I can impact one kid's life, I've had a good career.
I guarantee that there are quite a few wannabe Devin Smeltzers out there throwing in the backyard, playing catch with dad or brother or something like that. We do have a few questions. We'll probably jump into a little bit now. One of them is from Adam W., and he asks, what was the atmosphere like at Devin's playoff debut at Yankee Stadium, and how did he overcome it? He absolutely shut the New York Yankees down. That ain't easy.
Again, like I talked about earlier, I pitched that game a million times in my head. I grew up a South Jersey guy, which is right over the bridge from Philly. Philly and New York hate each other.
You're like, Yankees are trash. I got this.
Like, Philly and New York hate each other. Growing up, I always found myself on the team that was hated, and I've always thrived off that. I think that is like the most thrilling thing to me is when you roll into a city, like you're hated, and I love that. In Yankee Stadium, it doesn't matter who you are, they hate you. So it's like the coolest thing in the world. You got people yelling at you that, you know, I wouldn't even begin to talk about on here, but it's funny. My dad surprised me at that game. I was shagging BP. He's in left field. I hear him call my name, and I recognize my dad's voice. Turn around. I'm like, what the hell are you doing here? And I turn around. I was like, where are you sitting? And he's like, right here. And I was like, oh, no. He was with the bleacher creatures in left field next to our bullpen. And I'm like, Dad, like, I literally went over. I'm like, Dad, look, like, take your jersey off. Like, I know you're here for me. You don't have to wear the jersey. Like, I don't want you in a hospital tonight. And it was really cool. I don't know who he is. I hope someday I can meet him. Some random rowdy Yankees fan. Group of guys were yelling at my dad. This guy starts talking to my dad, giving him crap. He's like, hey, like, I'm not a Twins fan. Like, I'm from New Jersey. Like, not saying he's a Phillies fan, but like, I'm from New Jersey. Like, that's my kid. And the guy's like, no. Hey, no, that's awesome. So anytime any guy yelled at my dad, he's like, hey, shut up. Like, that's his kid, man. It's cool. So it was like, it was so cool to be able to have that atmosphere. And I'll never forget, like, I don't hear anything. I'm pretty good at blocking stuff out. I feel like I get the tingles on my skin and like the electricity of the stadium. But I get the sign from Rocco, like they're calling out to me. And I'm in the bullpen. I throw my last pitch and I start jogging from the mound. And I get halfway to the gate. And all I hear is, hey, Smeltzer, you know why you're going in? Because we're up 7 runs and you suck. And I'm like, well, I guess you're right, buddy. Like, I just thought that was hilarious. And I went in. And my favorite part about Yankee Stadium is I get halfway to the mound and, like, they're playing walk-up music. Like, this is awesome. It's Yankee Stadium. I'm jogging in. And all of a sudden, they pan to Jerry Springer, who's sitting behind home plate. And the whole stadium starts erupting and Jerry. And I'm like, man, this could not be better. Like, this is so cool. And, I mean, it's just that atmosphere. I get how it can eat some people up, but, you know, if you're cut from the cloth that, like, you love it and feed off of it, like, I had so much fun there. And I could see how it could be a lot of fun to be a Yankee, like, having that, I mean, just rowdy atmosphere every night. They're throwing beers and chicken nuggets at us. And,
yeah,
I mean, it's insane.
I'm curious, you know, well, another former Blue Wahoo, Randy Dobnak, obviously, you know, had success and got to the big leagues. When he was nodded as the, I think, Game 2 starter in that first round, you know, what was the reaction like in that clubhouse, and what was it like for you as well? Because I know you guys have different journeys, but you could make the argument it's 2 players that have been way too overlooked for far too long, who have proved themselves at every level, and they're now being rewarded at the highest level in the biggest situation that a baseball player could ever ask for.
Yeah. Again, it's just touching on the Twins of, you know, there is no egos in that clubhouse. From Rocco down, like, it is a brotherhood. You know, I can mess with Rocco just as much as I mess with Randy, and, you know, we all just kind of bust on each other and have fun, and morale was awesome in that clubhouse. And, you know, we all trusted each other. We had each other's backs. And like I said, it was that point of, it didn't matter who got the phone. It was, we were pulling for that guy. And yeah, like Randy and I, you know, competed against each other all year, but I mean, it's some of the most fun I've ever had, like being able to to learn from each other, because you can't get from an analytic standpoint farther apart than Randy and I are. Like, he's a sinker guy, I'm a carry guy, I'm left-handed, he's right-handed, like everything. But how much we learned from each other, and we worked together and played catch together and talked and bullpens and all that. Like, again, I can't express enough how awesome the atmosphere was.
Another question from the very beloved Jamie S. And she wants to know, Devin, what is the strangest / funniest thing that happened when you got called up? I'll expand that to like the first couple weeks, or any rookie pranks that might have been played on you towards the end of the year, because that had to be a factor with how loose that clubhouse seems to be over in Minneapolis.
As lucid as it is, like, there is no hazing. Like, the craziest thing to me was, I get called up and it's like open arms from Nelson Cruz, like, welcome to the big leagues, congrats, like, and a hug from Nelson Cruz. And I'm like, this is a different environment. This is a different organization. Like, there's no hazing. There's no animosity towards anybody. Like, it was so cool. But I think one of the weirdest things is starting to get recognized. Seeing the shirts around, that was pretty cool. There was one day I looked out of my hotel room and literally saw a guy down on the streets of Minneapolis, like, with a Catch Cancer looking shirt on. I was like, damn, like, this is cool. And I was in a hotel somewhere. Guy got on the elevator. He's like, like, are you Devin Smeltzer? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh man, like, it's been fun to watch you play. Like, just like stupid stuff like that, like the little kid in me, it's like I'm
awesome.
Here. Yeah, like, I'm here. And like, I talk to my wife about it all the time. Like, I hope it never goes away. Like, getting fan mail, love it. Like, seeing people and like them, like, I think I know who you are. And it's like,
get together.
Yeah, to me, it's like I'm just some random fisherman from Southwest Florida that's like, just playing ball. Like, it's so cool. And, I've gotten some DMs from parents, like, with their kids going through some tough times or whatever. Like, hey, I read them your story to bed last night. Like, to me, like, that's what my career is about. That's what my purpose is about. And it's kind of weird sometimes, like I said, just because the little kid in me, it's like, damn, like, some people are looking at me the way I looked at, like, the Phillies pitchers growing up. So it's definitely cool.
People talk about that you have arrived moments. What's cool to know what yours is. We are towards the very end. I cannot let you go, though, without you talking about those T-shirts and the work that you've been doing for kids and cancer. Would you talk a little bit about that and where people can hopefully find some T-shirts? Because I know they were a hot item this time last year.
Yeah, so the T-shirts are still for sale on 500 Level. You just go to 500level.com, type in my name in the search, and all my shirts will come up. Money goes to Catch Cancer Looking. Katie's Crusaders is who I've always raised money for growing up. It doesn't go to the hospital. It doesn't go to cancer research. It goes directly to the families and kids that are going through it. Long story short, if the insurance company, stops covering numbing cream, we cut a check. Parents are behind on mortgage checks, we can cut a check. Gas payments to get, my parents had to go over the Ben Franklin Bridge, God knows how many times in that year. Just things like that to help things get better. We'll pay for trips for families and siblings. And I started working a little bit with Barbara's Friends down here, which is just like Katie's Crusaders, but it's the Fort Myers version. And then I'm hoping when we get back to Minneapolis, I'll be working with the hospital project there. But, the reason I do that is I'm seeing where it's going. It helped my family. Like, you can give money to hospitals, but like, it could go to a new coffee shop. And it's like, I want to help the kids that, I was in their shoes. So that's where it goes. I'm hoping, I do a golf outing every year. I'm hoping we'll be able to do that again. And hopefully get things rolling. Maybe have a golf outing in Pensacola this off season, potentially, or, get that going too. Just, it's Florida. It's my home state now. And, again, I had my favorite stop along the way for sure was Pensacola. I'm not just saying that because of the call, but, I love the city. I love the fans, and I really love the fishing.
Well, Devin, thank you. You are a philanthropist. You're a survivor. You look like a lumberjack. You're a boat owner. But more importantly, you are a big leaguer. Thanks to everyone at Studer Community Institute for helping set this up. Appreciate everyone who participated in the Zoom call with Twins pitcher Devin Smeltzer. Devin, stay safe, man. Enjoy what little time hopefully you have in your quote-unquote off season, and we look forward to having you back on the mound soon.
You bet. Thank you so much for having me.